Welcome into Sports Idiot Nation. Today is Monday, July 7th, and we're going to hear about my story in Chicago as the Guardians got swept by the Cubs. We'll also find out what took so long, speaking of baseball, what took so long for baseball players to start getting pinched regarding betting, and we'll find out who won the 7-team trade in the NBA.
Listen up, you little shits. Sports, comedy, pop culture, and everything in between. By idiots, for idiots. And this one's for you, Alice in Drunkard Land.
This is Sports Idiot Nation.
Sports, comedy, pop culture, and everything in between. By idiots, for idiots. Welcome, sinners. This is Sports Idiot Nation.
Welcome into Sports Idiot Nation. It is I, Adam Marino, joined by Miles behind enemy lines. It is just us two rocking it today. Speaking of two, remember we come to you every what am I saying? Every Monday and Thursday.
Week.
Is there a better way to say that?
Two times a week.
Yeah. I talk good.
Idiot.
Every Monday and Thursday. Remember, season 2 is coming very soon, and next week we will have a huge update regarding season 2. So be sure to follow us wherever you get your social media. And man, a lot going on for the first week of July, where you're not really, at first we were like texting back and forth like, oh, it's the slow season. I joked last episode that there are 2 seasons, football season and non-football season, and we are in non-football season, but lots going on. Let me tell you a story of my trip to Chicago first here. So I have a transportation company that has party buses and limousines and trolleys, and I took some people to Chicago last week, so caught part of the Cubs Guardians series. The Cubs swept the Guardians, and I was sure to let every person wearing a Guardians jersey know after the game. I was like, oh, the walk of shame. And they're like, whatever, it's not that bad. I'm like, a sweep is pretty bad. But I left the game a little early to grab the bus so I could pick up the people. And I'm kind of walking around. And I distinctly remember going to Cubs games back in the day, like 20 years ago. And I was telling the people as I was driving, like, yeah, I think there's a random IHOP really close. And they're like, I don't know if that's still there. And so I'm looking for a spot to park. I'm like, maybe grab a quick bite. Not that IHOP would be the top of my list in Chicago of all places, but I'm driving around and sure enough, there it is. As there she is. Perfect. She needs dada.
She wanted to hear this story.
Yeah. For her first time in Chicago, we'll have to document that. So I'm in walking around Chicago, and I find the IHOP. I get out, I start walking, and I'm like, that building has a rainbow flag on it. It's really large. Okay, don't think anything of it. I find a bar to watch part of the game, and I step inside, and I give this weird look, like everyone's looking at me. Every single person in there is a guy, and every single person is wearing a shirt that's maybe tighter than what I would prefer to wear myself, whether you're skinny or fat. And I kind of just get like, everyone just kind of turns around and like gives me one of those and like, what are you doing here? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is a gay bar. So I pretend for the moment that I meant to like walk in. I obviously did not, to pull a Seinfeld. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but not my scene. So I had to play it off though. So I start, just doing this, pretending that
winking
like,
at some.
yeah, like I'm pretending like, oh, I'm on the phone, I'm meeting people here, I'm meeting some straight people here, or like something, and then I'm like, all right, I think this is enough after 18 seconds, and I just walked out, and they all could like, they all could
They
probably
start
tell,
clapping.
like,
They start clapping as soon as you walk out. I'm blown away that as soon as you walk in, they open the door. They just like their gaydar immediately goes off and just all eyes on straight man. And can we flip him?
can we flip him? Yeah, that was like, I was like, oh, and then I kept walking, and there was like all these little shops and all these little like places that sold like the clothes, and it was all of the clothes that I saw on the men that I had just met. I'm like, oh, then it hit me where I was. Go ahead and call it out.
Right. Boys Town.
Boys Town. And I knew it existed, and it's fun to do this show with you because you will remember our very first podcast that we did together way back in the day. It was called The Safe Space, and I think it was episode 2, you'll remember, that my car this is a really funny story. So my car broke down, and I got a tow truck guy, and it was in Hammond, Indiana, and I was coming from Chicago, and so this guy's telling me about funny stories, and I'm recording them. And I said, hey, I'm started this show. Do you mind giving me some funny stories? And so I'm recording this guy, and he's your classic tow truck guy. And we're just talking back and forth about Chicago, and he's like telling me about Boys Town. Now, I had never heard of Boys Town. This is, 2016 was our podcast.
But you've heard of the Cubs. They're one and the same.
Fair. So he's telling me about Boys Town, and like it's where the gays, like the gays,
Congregate.
where they
Commingle.
reside, and
Coagulate.
I'm like, oh, yeah, and it's like it's that close to the Cubs stadium, like, and I get made fun of for being a San Francisco fan. I'm like, okay, that doesn't like hold up, but anyway, so I'm like, it hits me that I'm like, oh, that's where the IHOP is. That's where I'm like everyone walking with their little dogs, and I'm just like, of all the places that I could be in Chicago, it was just really funny that it ended up that way. So I was just like, oh gosh, it was funny. I'm by myself. I'm just like, really? Okay. It was just, you had to be there, one of those moments, but I love Chicago.
Yeah, well, that at least close to the stadium, Wrigley Field, you're not going to get mugged because no one's going to mess with you there. You hear about all the crime on the south side. You're on the north side. That's where you hit your Boys Town. As I pass off my daughter to my wife.
So I will say I felt safe. I felt very safe. That is for sure. So as we brought up baseball here to start, let's continue on there because a lot of news in baseball. Speaking of Chicago, first off, a salute to Bobby Jenks. Just a crazy story. The White Sox pitcher. I always love like a big guy
Right.
pitcher on the mound, and you hear stories of, I don't think there was anyone that was a better teammate than Bobby Jenks, and he just passed away. Always sad to hear about players that you kind of remember watching as a kid, and like, was he the greatest pitcher that ever lived? Like, no, but did he die way too young? Probably, yes. And so that happened, and then I want to get your take on the White Sox versus the Rockies. Is that the most exciting series?
But we always talk about the toilet bowl for football, the worst teams playing each other just randomly at the end of the year. Anytime that can happen. We had the toilet bowl all-star break, I guess we'll call that, for White Sox and Rockies. But I'll tell you this: the other day when I saw that the Rockies finally eclipsed 20 wins, I thought to myself, that team might be selected for the NCAA tournament. They reached that 20 win mark.
20,
they
yeah.
might make it in March.
So, yeah, the Rockies are at 21-69, still very bad. They did win yesterday against the White Sox to close
Make
out
it
that
21.
series. So yeah, and then
I could
as
buy
you look
51
at
wins.
the White Sox are at 30, so they are still considerably better than.
That's embarrassing.
But yeah, like I said,
30 and 60.
The Guardians just got swept by the Cubs.
Man, that's a team that's tanking right now.
So speaking of tanking, also the Blue Jays are atop the AL East. They caught the Yankees after sweeping them, and you got Aaron Judge getting hit in the face by his own player. Did you see that video?
Reality setting in and hitting you across the face.
Like
it's
literally
unbelievable how, and I didn't even realize it because I don't pay attention to AL East enough. Just coming across the ticker, seeing that they're on that huge skid and they're losing games by like almost 9 runs on average, giving up 11 plus runs in like 5 of their 6 last games. Unbelievable. But again, we aren't even to the All-Star break. We are more than halfway through the season, but it's like all it takes with how much it seems the standings outside of pretty much like the NL West and AL Central, all you got to do is get hot for a week and you're right back in contention.
Right. And the Yankees definitely can get hot. So yeah, that's interesting to see. Speaking of the teams in the Central, the Indians or the Guardians, I still like to say Indians. It's more fun.
Because that's their name.
It's more fun to say. I saw a lot of Indians jerseys and T-shirts. I'm like, you don't want to spend the money for the Guardians, right? And they're like, no. Like, no way.
It's a roller derby. It's a roller derby team.
So, but we got to talk about this Luis Ortiz because when you watch the video, so here's the deal if you don't know. He's under investigation because to start the 4th inning of some random game, the first pitch had to be a ball. And then he's on the mound and keep in mind, the mound is what, 60 feet?
6 inches. 60 feet, 6 inches.
Well, he threw the ball about 48 feet and just bounced it. And you're like, okay. And there was an absurd amount of bets on that day for that pitch. So for that particular pitch, and he throws it 48 feet, it's enough to make you go, Pete Rose would be very proud.
Hey, never on his own team.
Yeah. So
allegedly,
my question is this. How has this not, like, you hear stories, there's 30 for 30. What was that Arizona State player, that point guard who got caught up?
Right. Shaving points. And their team was actually good. I think that was the most stunning thing about it was that Arizona State basketball team was actually kind of good. Other than a James Harden Arizona State team, it's like illegal for the Sun Devils to be good at b-ball.
Right.
And he was like predicting they'd win by 10 or no more than 10. They'd win by 8. Like the dude controlled the game.
No, for sure.
I think that was Untold on Netflix. I want to say. I think that was Untold.
Okay. I thought it was a 30 for 30. I don't know. They all run
all
together.
The same. They're both badass.
It was well done. And yes. So it's like, I wonder why there aren't more pitchers who have the ability to control a game, like give up more runs or less runs and things like that. It's like, there's a lot of money to be made if you're not a big name guy. Obviously, if you're Clayton Kershaw or, someone like that.
Well, here's an off the cuff question for you. Thinking of the 4 major North American sports: baseball, hockey, football, and then what's the last one I'm missing? Basketball. Is there a sport and really a position that you can control more than being a pitcher? That you could shave points or throw games or based off like prop bets or parlays that you really can have complete control. I mean, maybe a goalie in hockey that you're just letting things in, but you're going to get pulled. You're going to get pulled after a few goals, and obviously on the other end of the ice, you can't control anything. But I feel like in baseball, man, sure, yeah, you hit nowadays or don't hit nowadays because the DH, but ball strikes, walks, to giving up home runs, to giving up singles, doubles, because you know how you're throwing a pitch in there, and if that ball's going to get yarded or going to get grounded into the gap or whatever it might be.
The over/under on strikeouts. you can just not have as many strikeouts
Right.
and let them pitch to contact, things like that,
Sure.
or the other way around. If you're feeling your stuff, you could, throw it out there to your buddies and say, hey, I'm feeling over 6 strikeouts. And,
They say 2 out hits get you to heaven. Well, 7 strikeouts or less send you straight to hell.
Sheep go to heaven, goats go to hell. So basically, June 15th and June 27th were the 2 pitches that received flagging by an integrity firm who looked at these and said, hey, these pitches are not, like, there's no way that's legit. So he's been placed on non-disciplinary paid leave through the 17th of this month, so about a week and a half still.
What do I have to do to get on paid leave?
Yeah,
that's
nice
the best.
little vacation.
That's the best. That's like getting suspended from school. Cool, week vacation, baby.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if they. I mean, he's kind of the first guy to really get this ball rolling in baseball, and we'll see.
It'll be a domino.
I feel like he wouldn't be the only one, but is he banned for life?
Well, he's got to be found guilty first.
Well, let's say he is. Let's call it banned for life.
I think
is that an immediate ban
how
for life?
Deep does it go? If it goes,
doesn't matter. Even if it was just those 2 pitches, let's say.
Man, I don't know about a ban for life. How the way that baseball has gone in the past, based on precedent, probably so. Should it be? Probably not. But I think the odds of it just being 2 pitches get real. There's no way it's only been 2 pitches.
Well,
you're going to find more. If he's guilty of that, it's going to be deeper than that. So I think the totality of it will lead to him being banned for life, and it'll be a open and shut case based on they will find more once they do more digging. I think this is more of a culture issue, and it's not just baseball. I think it's across the board that you've got certain people that know that they've been able to get away with it for a while, especially with baseball and the tarnishment that PEDs did and the overwhelming focus on that. And now we're swinging back to gambling after the whole thing with Pete Rose. And now they're like, yeah, we went too far with the whole Pete Rose thing. Now it's going to get dug back up, dig him up from his grave, essentially, and reconvict him based on what's going on now. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg, and a lot of things are going to start melting very quickly.
Yeah. I think you can't ban Pete Rose for life, who is the all-time hit king. He's not just like a guy. He's the guy. And then some guy who is just a guy like this guy, and then be like, oh, he can play. Wait, how do you, how does that register? Rob Manfred.
And he's not necessarily throwing a game, but throwing a pitch. Okay, pun intended. But the fact that he's harming his own team, that's the most egregious thing. Again, to this day, I think it should be the law that every player must bet on their own team to win every game. Put up 25 grand. You'll never see teams tank like in the NBA or NHL. It won't happen. I think gambling needs to be upped by players in their sport, but you just can't do it against your own team.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love it. So,
of course you do.
Let's well, as long as your team wins even just one more game, then they lose, and that's usually what the Giants' record is: 1 game above 500. Last year, TI's Cardinals made it so that we were 1 game under 500. All we had to do is win one last game.
As a Reds fan, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I don't know what it's like to be in contention 161 games in.
Yeah. So, all right, let's shift to some NBA. And reminder,
the sport I forgot.
Yeah. Reminder that the NBA exists, yes. And reminder, new episodes, remember, are every Monday and Thursday. Click the link also in the description for your Sports City Nation gear and fun. This is the most fun mug I've ever acquired. So, all right. So NBA, really crazy just happened. There's a lot of info here to go over. So let's get into it because first time ever. Well, let's do this first. Because there was some NBA stuff that happened before this big old 7-team thing happened. One thing that I want to go through is the Denver Nuggets, because they needed to help Joker, who all he did in the 2025 playoffs, he led the Nuggets in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks, and he's 7 feet tall. So go ahead and let that sink in, first of all. So he needs help. He can't play 48 minutes. I don't know if you're aware. And so I do like, now I'm going to, Valanciunas.
Valanciunas, former
Okay.
Grizzly and Raptor. Yes,
Yeah.
Valanciunas.
And
We are well endowed with him formerly.
Endowed, yes.
We were at one time.
I do like him as a player. I do like him as a solid backup. I do like him as a piece in Denver. And the fact that they got him, to me, Denver ran out of gas, and I'll say Joker ran out of gas. And, I mean, they could have made it back to the NBA Finals. And, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts every year. The team, even the Thunder, is not going to be exactly the same. But I do like this move, and I think it makes him formidable. There was a couple other moves.
And to stay with Denver for a real quick second, obviously they're only a couple years removed from a championship, and it felt like they fell off so fast. They're still took the NBA champion this year to 7 games, the Western Conference Semis. They are not that far off.
Right. And again, if you give some ability for Joker to stay, I don't want to say healthy, but just stay like active in the fourth quarter, well, he's not, because he's in worse shape than Luka. Like, so you need him to be.
That's pretty bad.
Right. So I think that's huge. I think it's not too many people are talking about it. And I think it's a big deal. Another big deal. How about some of these assistants? Frank Vogel and here's what's funny, us doing this episode together. I will say, as you were my assistant coach when we coached together in Fort Wayne, the assistants really have to do a lot and be in charge of a lot. And the fact that you can get someone who coached at a high level, not Frank Vogel was 42 minutes maybe away from possibly winning the NBA Finals, because they took the Heatles to Game 7, and if it goes a different way over, they go to the finals and beat, was it at that point the Spurs? I'm not sure who that was against, but Frank Vogel, that was a pretty solid coaching job that year. Then he went to LA and they hung him out to dry. But what's your take, being in Dallas, of getting a guy like that? Is it a nothing burger? Does it mean something?
We'll see. I mean, obviously, that's the easiest answer to give is the we'll see. I think it will be paramount for the development of Cooper Flagg to have a veteran coach like that as an assistant, because you can bring in a guy like Frank Vogel and basically make that his primary job. Like, just, we'll run everything else. You go and develop Cooper Flagg, which obviously when you look at that Pacers roster back in the Heatle days, they had nowhere near the talent of the big three, but they competed because of their cohesiveness as a squad, because they were fundamentally sound. And Frank Vogel is known for that. And if he can continue to develop a guy like Cooper Flagg, who's a sick athlete and is supposed to be, the second best prospect since LeBron after Wemby, it could actually have a significant impact this season. I think there's a lot of hype behind Dallas. There's way too much hype, especially with Kyrie being out. And even when he comes back, who knows? Because every day he's just getting one day older. How
they're going to be good.
Much of an factor that they're going to be good, but a lot of folks are out here talking about that they're a serious contender to win the West. I mean, 2 years ago they had no chance, and they ended up in the finals. They got blown out of the gym by Boston, but they were still there. I think we have to see how the old mixes with the new, but I think that's exactly what Frank Vogel's point of being there is a guy who knows how to take on multiple personalities, who knows what the league was, kind of like when AD and Kyrie came into the league, 10, damn near pushing 15 years ago now, and give him a young guy who's was being born 15 years ago, damn near. Cooper Flagg just about to turn 19. He can mold him and help him mature into a player that will turn them into a quote unquote big four, as long as Clay. And a lot of people are giving flack for Clay. The dude still dropped 14 last season, was shooting damn near 40% from beyond the arc. So it's not like Clay's worthless by any stretch of the means anymore. He's not what he was when he was the Splash Brother. Obviously, he had different type of load management anyhow. So now with getting a guy like D'Angelo Russell as your backup point guard to start half the season, that's fine. He's not going to be the big shaker or mover that you need to be a contender, but that's not the object of it. It's supposed to get Kyrie back. But I think at the end of the day, it really does come down to Kyrie, not so much, hey, what is our assistant coach going to do to develop 18, 19-year-old Cooper Flagg in season 1 to make them competitive for a Western Conference championship or a Western Conference run. Yes, he'll have an impact. Will he be the game changer for Dallas? No.
Right. Let's stay with coaching. How hilarious did you think it was that the Knicks said that they approached Don Staley before they went with Mike Brown?
Is that the NBA's like version of the Rooney Rule, or like Runa rule?
Runa.
Runa.
Regina.
Regina, I believe it's pronounced Regina. We'll call it. We have now dubbed the Regina rule of the NBA. They now have to talk to a women's college or WNBA, a woman.
Where's Becky Hammond? Where's Becky at?
Didn't they ship her off to like the 901 or 903 or up in the 6, like G League Toronto or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. There's no way that we are ready for a woman to be the head coach in the NBA. When Popovich had Becky Hammond on staff, it was like, it wasn't like, oh, that's cute. Like she knew. I respected her as a coach. Like she knew her stuff,
and she does. Yeah, it does. And obviously with the Vegas Aces, like she was killing it. She's a great coach, but there is a whole different stuff, and it's not about knowing the game. It has nothing to do with that. It's dealing with the egos of these men that are 3 times the size of you.
Yeah, it just doesn't really make sense. I just don't see it happening anytime this decade. But Mike Brown has been around a lot, won some championships he was Steve Kerr's right-hand man with the Warriors when they won a couple, and had the Kings playing well, had LeBron in Cleveland, obviously, and did well there. I mean, Mike Brown has shown that he can coach, and the Knicks are very, very interesting in what they're trying to do with their bench. They've tried to address the bench, and we'll see how it goes. But okay, let's get into this. Like, it's a lot of info. What do you see? What jumps out to you? This 17 deal. It's a lot.
How much? I think it's not going to really matter at all. I think it's actually the biggest nothing burger possibly in NBA history.
Well, for Brooklyn, definitely is. Future 2 future seconds. Okay, cool. Like, were they even just involved just to break the record of having the most teams? Like, hey, we only got 6 teams. We need a 7th. Okay, we'll do it for like what? Like, who was at that meeting? Yeah,
Brooklyn Nets of New Jersey.
Yeah.
Well, I will say Clint Capella had to be a part of this because he's Mr. NBA 2K, Mr. Trade Block. He's the one. Him and help me out with the Pacers from the Raptors. Who was the Eastern Conference MVP this year? No, the Eastern Conference MVP this year for from the Raptors to the Pacers.
Pascal Siakam.
Pascal Siakam and Clint Capella, your 2 top NBA 2K trade every single time it comes up. You try to do an auto trade. Clint Capella or I'm forgetting his name again. Tell me again. For the Pacers, who just won the Pascal Siakam. Siakam. Say that. Pascal Siakam. Okay, in my brain now. So Pascal and Clint Capella. So Clint Capella being a part of this, I think is what stands out to me the most from all of this. Because KD in Houston, I have already talked about how I think that's going to crash and burn. Because anywhere he goes outside of a championship team in Golden State, he cannot turn an organization into a champion. And beyond that, you look down, okay, Phoenix has pieces for the future. Well, sorry, Phoenix, you're buried like 12th in a conference where you're going to have 8-9 teams that are seriously going to make a push this next season, or at least try to. Minnesota, maybe get some extra tools for the future. I'm looking down at this list and saying, hey, who's getting cash considerations that's going to have an impact 4 or 5 years from now?
Minnesota's getting cash considerations, right? And Atlanta is as well, and a future second round pick swap with Houston, whatever that means. Like, I mean, Houston, Kevin Durant, and Clint Capella, those literally are the two biggest names. Not even just Kevin Durant, Clint Capella, going back to Houston.
He's from Atlanta.
My Warriors got involved here with Phoenix and Houston, Alex Tui and Jemai Mashak. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. It's a bunch of nothing burgers, but when I say a bunch of, it's the most ever that's ever you said a bunch of. It's literally, I mean, that's what, a third, practically a fourth of the NBA was involved in a trade yesterday. like what? I almost feel like if you weren't, like, if you're the Pacers, or the Celtics, you're on the outside, like, can we get in on this? Like, almost for at least cash considerations and a concession stand. Like, all right, we'll give you the Mountain Dew dispenser for the Powerade in the back, and our hot dog guy who's gone viral. Like, oh yeah, that's getting boost.
Can you down 72 wieners?
At halftime, yeah, he gets the social media.
Where's Joey
halftime? Yeah. Speaking of halftime, our thoughts and prayers to Red Panda, who broke her wrist. It's amazing she hasn't done that before, dude. Like,
right.
I've seen her live at a what was it? I saw her. She performed. Was it the Fury? Or was it the Mad Ants? But
man,
I can't remember.
Going back then.
I know. I think it was the Mad Ants. So she performed in Fort Wayne, the Fort Wayne Mad Ants. They have moved on since, but
with 700 fans a game.
Yeah,
and you couldn't even believe it was that.
She was pretty brilliant. I mean, to throw all those bowls from her legs up onto her head like that, and just like on a unicycle, like. I can't do that. First of all, you can't put like 7 bowls on my head and then I throw them up on my feet if I'm just sitting here now. And I also can't just ride a unicycle that has me 7 feet in the air.
No, wait a minute.
So
for you, in your history, we should do a Red Robin versus Red Panda halftime show. You repping Red Robin, having been a waiter there for many a year, versus Red Panda. So you carry all the stacks, get up there,
right?
Bring out those old skills at them.
Slang some burgers, yeah.
Slang.
So you mentioned Joey Chestnut, of course. That was always good to have him back where he belongs. The biggest thing about Joey Chestnut is that he was born in San Jose, California. The biggest thing about me is that I was born in San Jose, California. So not a coincidence whatsoever.
Not your belly. The biggest thing about you isn't your belly. Gotcha.
Yeah. The guy who came in second place.
No one knows. It
doesn't matter. Yeah. The amount was like in the 40s.
We're like 45. He beat him by like 60% of the total.
Like,
yeah. 72
like,
to 45. Doing? It's like a first round 1 seed versus 16 seed, 72 to 45.
Right. So
Ain't no
shout
one
out
seat
Joey
up to here.
Chestnut. And you know where
Champion.
he hails now? He hails from now is Indiana.
Right. More famous than Pascal Siakam to me, obviously.
I'm just happy. I'm proud of you. Remembered his name. So yes, shout out definitely to Joey Chestnut. Okay, so let's shift to Darren Waller, because this is a good Sports Idiot Nation story. Like, we like to talk through some of the funny things in sports, and I just find it funny that a guy plays in the NFL, things kind of don't go his way, and I will admit, okay, some of that is injuries too. He did have a lot of lower body injuries. I get it. Decides to rap. It's a little bit better than mediocre, not great at all. Unless you talk to John, unless you talk to John Gruden, he loves it. He loves some Darren Waller rapping. He loves it. But
you know what
now,
I've been thinking about this entire time, Adam, as you've been talking about Darren Waller, Kelsey Plum.
Yeah,
my girl,
yeah.
my girl. He should have rapped "My Girl" and she would have came back to him.
Right,
But Darren Waller, I think it's ridiculous that he's saying, "Man, I think we were up in Buffalo, and they had me playing fullback, and we ran a blast, and I knocked the guy out of the hole, not physically knocked him out, but I blew him out, and then I went back to the bench after we scored a touchdown. I thought, man, what am I doing with my life? And then you follow that up by rapping." Get the hell out of here, bro.
Yeah, you're not Colin Kaepernick. Like, what am I doing with my life? Like, you're not. And that's
you're not
funny.
Going to Ghana.
When I think of Kelsey Plum, I think of that viral shot of her throwing a T-shirt like a football, like 90 yards up in the stadium. Because I saw an Instagram reel that I'd never seen it like this before, because I've seen that reel a dozen times, but never like this. The caption, it said, "My toxic trait is I think I can do this," and then it shows her. I'm like, awesome. That's a hell of a toxic trait. Like, I mean, there's worse. You think you're Uncle Rico? That's your toxic trait? Like, watch me throw a ball over the mountains.
The dude only lasted a year with her, but I'll tell you, that was the best 13 months of his life.
Yeah. Yep. I barely outlasted that marriage by like 3 months. So
last longer in the bedroom.
The Dolphins, they're a mess. Like, I don't know if a nice weather team can ever. You can't be a nice weather team and play fast. It doesn't. You have to be tough. Like, when the Bucks won, they were nice weather. They were outside, but they were tough. Though they had dudes on the team. You can't have Mostert and Tyreek Hill and just fast and just, we're just gonna, like, that's not gonna work. I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand what they're doing.
They are the epitome of that meme with Starship Troopers of the I'm doing my part, where you have the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Miami Heat, and hell, even the Jacksonville Jaguars make it to a conference championship game by accident every here and there. And then in the last 30 years, one playoff win. I didn't do shit.
Yeah. I'm doing my part. Yeah, that's pretty great. I just don't know if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, if you are very optimistic about what is going on at all.
We would tell you to leave a comment in the section about it if you're a Dolphins fan, but we know there aren't any out there listening, so it's going to be blank on that end.
Yeah, no kidding. So speaking of leaving comments in social media, shout out to Josh Toomey, who has been on the show and has his own podcast as well. If you love music, he's a good follow. But he posted this week that this was the 40th anniversary of the very first Back to the Future. And that blew my mind because I'm only a little bit older than that. And I remember seeing Back to the Future for the first time. Not right when it came out. I wasn't old enough, but obviously a little bit older. I watched it, and man, it doesn't seem like it was 40 years old. And then it got me thinking of Tommy Boy, because even at the very end of this show, I wonder if we'll get a few more viewers now, because at the very, very, very end of this show, we tease a little clip from Tommy Boy because of Sin, Sports Idiot Nation, SIN, so we call you sinners, right? Which I will say is pretty brilliant of TI to do that. Or was that you that coined sinners after we had?
So I was the first to notice that our initials are Sin. So we had to play off that. And then it expanded there with TI saying, hey, let's call our followers the sinners. It just works out with being idiots and sinners, all one and the same. So don't do that sin,
yes.
do this sin instead. Turn away from sin and be faithful to, well, the gospel, of course, but, you know.
The gospel of sports, comedy, pop culture, and everything in between. Yeah.
John said so.
Yeah.
Along
with Stone Cold. Yeah. So shout out to Wrestling Idiot Nation. But no, at the very end, we say, or well, not we, but Chris Farley does say sinner, because at the very end, we play that clip and it's fun. But shout out to Tommy Boy, as it's the 30-year anniversary. And so we are going to be talking to someone who is helping head up Tommy Boy Fest. And the link is in the show notes. Next month is Tommy Boy Fest in Canton, Ohio. Or, sorry, not Canton, that's the Hall of Fame.
Sandusky.
Sandusky Don'ts. Yeah.
With or without the tangle stick. The scooter stick.
Sandusky, Ohio, where Cedar Point is, which, so again, check the link, Tommy Boy Fest. It's hilarious. It's going to be awesome. But speaking of Sandusky, I've never been to Sandusky with you. Are you a coaster guy?
Yes, absolutely. I grew up going every single summer to Cedar Point. Yeah. And prior to that, grew up at Kings Island down in, I believe, Mason, Ohio by Cincinnati, because my family lived in Cincinnati. That's how I became a Reds fan. We went to Reds games. We went to Kings Island, grew up on the Beastie, moved up to the Beast, so on and so forth. They had, I believe it's the Cyclone down there that's real popular as well. And then as I got a little bit older, 10, 11, 12 in the preteen years, it was Cedar Point all the time with my swim team. So, yes, I am very well versed. Top Thrill Dragster, I never had a chance to go on because every time I went, it was closed because they had safety issues. Millennium, only one time did I get a chance to go because every other time closed down due to safety concerns and issues.
Well, now they have some newer ones. Maverick is really fast and really cool. It's a good coaster. That didn't exist the last time you went, to be honest. But they have an even brand newer one that I'm a huge coaster guy. Nothing scares me. However, when something is called Curse and then it gets shut down twice, literally with people on it, Siren's Curse, not once but twice in a week, had people on it. And the big thing about Siren's Curse is that you are completely just up and just like this,
it's
up
called
and down.
Vertical. We call that word vertical, Adam.
I was inverted. Yeah.
So
straight up and down vertical. Yeah. And so it was just,
I was inverted, bro.
Yeah, there you go. So that's a little rough. Like, that's not something that I want to be a part of if it's going to fail like that. Like, that does have me nervous. So Cedar Point, get it together. I live close enough that I can just go. So please make it so that I don't, die. That would be the goal. Because I'm down to check it out, but not if it's going to twice in 1 week.
Kill you.
Yeah.
Twice in 1 week. Think about renaming it. You could just go ahead and name that coaster after Idiot Nation, and you'll be better off. Just saying.
It's
no roller coaster. No roller coaster named after Sports Idiot Nation or anything in the Idiotverse or the Cineverse has ever broken down. Noted. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah. So another thing that happened is it's touchy these days. Political. We never really get too political. We like to make fun of some of the political stuff, but it is a little crazy that Julio Cesar Chavez is, I guess,
Cesar
being
Chavez.
deported. What is the story there? Like, ICE came and he's deported.
Now,
Like,
look,
what?
Mexico had their hand in this. They cut a deal that they would deport his ass and his ass, really extradite him after. Now, he had obviously been here on an expired visa, and he lied on his green card process, which, by the way, my wife just got her green card this last week, so we are very excited to be going to Brazil here in the next month, finally. It's an arduous process. Been there, done that. I have lived it. So anyone wants to talk to me about the immigration system, let's boogie, because I've been through it with my wife. In any case, the dude's a certified POS. The real controversy here is that they let him stay until the fight. But again, I think Mexico cut some sort of deal for the U.S. to keep him here, because now, he's got this big bag going back. When he serves his fine, he's going to serve prison times because he's got like human charges that I won't say on air, but he's got some major, major felonies pending back in his native land that they're of Mexico. Now they wanted him to stay in the U.S. so he could get that money, and he comes back, and guess who's going to take it all? The Mexican government. So I think there's a little bit of collusion here that no one's talking about, but we'll talk about it here on Sin. And beyond that, just you want to be here, do it legally. This process sucks, but vote in people that will make it suck less. There you go. Move on.
Sucks to suck. What doesn't suck is when you follow us on wherever you get your social media, and reminder that new shows are every Monday and Thursday, and also a reminder that season 2 rapidly approaching, big announcement coming up very soon. And
Mayday! Mayday! Cover your brains, boys and girls. Put on your tinfoil hats, because this is Idiot of the Week.
All right, you idiots and sinners. Our Idiot of the Week, hailing from the UK. That's right, you have no control over our freedom-loving American asses anymore. And one lady looking to declare her independence from, a career or a job anymore, especially in teaching. Miss Alice Ashton, a teacher, rather attractive teacher, may I say, not being hit up or being accused of sleeping or sending nudes to a student, which I figured that was going to be it because that's the hot commodity these days. Over in the UK, They do it a little different. She allegedly got hammered drunk during class, drinking out of a water bottle, as they all do, sipping on some gin and juice, possibly. It was orange, so it could have been.
Yeah.
And blasting music, made the kids do the Macarena. Because what else are you going to play in the UK? Maybe some Spice Girls. Living in the Spice world. That's probably would have been my choice, but Macarena, close second. She was flipping off the students, yelling at them, cursing at them, and, it got reported. You think? So she is no longer at the fine institution, a parochial school, I do reckon. And, Miss Alice Ashton, we bid you adieu. Go ahead and apply for that visa and possible green card over in the U.S. We'll take you, but don't be around our kids.
Yeah, that's very, very odd that, I can't even fathom really, being that way to the kids and thinking, I'm sure it'll go over fine. I'm sure
years old. They'll think I'm cool.
Right. They won't tell their parents. They won't complain to another teacher. They won't do any of that. They're just dumb Brits.
Right. Wrapped herself
they blew
in
a 13-0.
Yeah, colony lead. Yeah, she blew her job.
Yeah, she did. Man, I would have I didn't have any I didn't have any scandalous teachers. I just had normal ones. It's so boring.
And
why couldn't I?
Not that attractive.
God, I
all
had
these
a few attractive
drunk teachers when I was in school.
Look, I had a few attractive teachers. Mr. Schomburg was a decent-looking guy, to be honest.
Okay, Boys Town. Okay, Boys Town, Chicago.
No, Mr. Schomburg was 72. I don't know. I'm sure before electricity, he was a dashing young lad, maybe. But
Adam with his gilfs.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. So reminder. Season 2, stay tuned because It starts next month, and we have a couple of fun announcements before season 2 gets rolling. So look for that next week. Be sure to follow Sports Idiot Nation wherever you get your social media, and we will see you Thursday.
Okay, all you sinners, follow Sports Idiot Nation on TikTok, X, and Instagram. Like us on Facebook, and remember, the most fun way to watch us is on YouTube every Monday and Thursday. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you can be updated when new content drops. Remember, the podcast can also be found on the usual suspects of Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Always remember, don't be an idiot.
Sinner.